Have you ever looked at something you created and thought, this isn't very good? A painting, a quilt, a story, a garden? Today, I'd like to talk about whether that's even the right question. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to assess your creative work based on the standards of your art form rather than the opinions of strangers. Hi, I'm Bernadette. Welcome to my channel, Creative Women Over 50. This is a conversation video. Imagine that you're able to walk with me in this beautiful, beautiful conservation land. What art form are you working in? Are you a writer? Are you an artist? Are you a potter? Are you a chef, a cook, a baker? Are you a gardener? Are you a carpenter? Are you a sewist? Do you work in fiber? Knowing or wanting to know if your work is good, it can be a little bit self-defeating. So imagine we're having a conversation about this. You might say something like, I made a jacket last week and it wasn't very good. The fit wasn't good. Turns out the colors didn't really exemplify my complexion. The fabric, a little bit too heavy for the style that the pattern was in. It didn't turn out very good. Good is such a subjective term. We often use it when we are describing just about any art form. Your painting was very good. The composition was pretty good. The short story wasn't very good. But how do we define good? I like to keep things simple. And so, what are 3 elements that you can use that would define what good is for your art form? Now, I consider that there are 7 different art forms, and the way that I remember these 7 is with the mnemonic device, live life epically. So we have literary arts for the L, and then V, visual arts for the V in live. Then we have fiber arts for life. Imagine a capital F, followed by environmental arts. Those would be gardening, interior design, anything that has to do with the space around us or the space where we walk. So that's the E in epic, followed by performing. And that has to do with any of the performing art forms, which could be music, theater, reading out loud, slam poetry. I'm sure there are many more. Followed by I for industrial arts, or what I consider the art forms that use hard substances like clay or wire or metal or wood. So that's the I in epically. And then the C is for culinary art, being anything basically that we eat. Maybe there's a better definition, but for our conversation today, I think that's adequate. Live life epically. Now that you understand the 7 art forms, we share that glossary of terms right now, then we can move on to 3 ways to evaluate. I'm going to pause and catch my breath. Maybe you need to as well. Let me see if there's any lady slippers. There usually are in this particular area, but their bloom is quite short-lived. I see some of the leaves from a bloom. They don't come up every single year. Maybe, hopefully, that is showing those leaves. And I will keep on the lookout for you, my sister creative. And if I spot one, I will definitely show you. Okay, so how do you define how you might determine good? For each of the 7 art forms, there are different assessments. I hate that word, but I think you get the idea. If it is literary arts, that's pretty straightforward. Do you remember reading in high school and thinking about character, plot, setting? There are 3 different categories right there. And for character, we could think about the protagonist, the antagonist, the foil. We could also think about static characters and dynamic characters. And the best main characters, usually protagonists, are dynamic characters. Those are the characters that change and grow throughout the story. Which brings us to the second assessment, plot. Plot is what happens. Character is the who, plot is the what. Plot can be short, to the point. I follow a writer on Instagram who posts microfiction, 2-3 sentences at the most, that convey an entire story. But then there's also longer works, short stories, novellas, novels, even trilogies, and beyond. Keeping the idea of the plot, we also have the beginning, the middle, and the end. Lots of different ways for you to read not only your own work, but the work of others and say, that was good. That was a good plot. Why? Because the beginning really caught my attention, the middle was well-paced, and the ending was surprising but satisfying. So those are 2 elements. We also have setting. Setting often can be an important part of a story, but sometimes not all that evident. And other times, it is more or less center stage. Thinking of the movie Titanic. If they weren't on that ill-fated ship, then the story would not happen in the same way. Definitely. We wouldn't have Jack and Rose. Okay, so that is literary arts. Visual arts. Visual arts are often thought of in terms of composition, color, medium. Are you an artist? Are you a visual artist? Are you painting? Are you painting landscapes, still life, portraits, abstract? What is the size of your canvas? That is another way to look at it and to think about how good can a 1-inch by 1-inch canvas be compared to a mural that covers an entire wall. Lots of different elements coming into play there too. So, sister creative, how are you going to assess your painting and try to figure out whether you think it is good? What about the colors that you use? The palette? Are you going to limit yourself to a monochromatic work? Maybe it's a pencil sketch where everything is shades of gray. But for a sketch, you might think about the medium itself, and that brings into play line work, shading, depth. How much of the paper are you covering? Is it something that pretty much obliterates the entire sheet? Are you working in charcoal on a gray paper? What kind of paper is it? Your materials definitely have an impact on your composition and therefore also weigh into, is it good? We're going to move on to fiber. I talked briefly already about making a jacket probably out of the wrong fabric, but wrong, those are also subjective, because had you chosen a different pattern with a different cut, a different fit, a heavy tapestry fabric would have turned out really good. But if you tried to make it into a blouse that requires more flow, draping, it's not going to be very good. Are the colors complementary? Are you using a complex palette? What is the design of the fabric itself? For fiber art, I do often think of the fiber content on its own, the design, the cut, the style, and probably the fit. But fiber art isn't limited to wearable art and garments. We also have wall hangings, quilts, pillows. So anything made out of fabric or fiber can be assessed as well. Are you comparing it to something else? Are you modeling something else? When we make a pattern from one of the major pattern companies and also any other pattern company, there are so many available these, you probably are going to compare what you create to the photos in the catalog or on a website. If they are actual photographs with real human models, you might get a better idea. Many of the major pattern companies have suggestions for fabrics. I remember when I worked at a fabric store, retail, selling fabric and patterns and notions, new sewers would be confused and question and look for advice for what they should use. The major pattern companies, McCall's, Butterick, Vogue, Simplicity, if it was a pattern that required stretch fabric, they would include a kind of scale on the back holding 4 inches. Can you stretch it to 5 or 6? Depending on the style in the pattern would dictate which fabric you should use. If you chose the wrong kind of fabric, for example, a silk that has no stretch at all, or denim, that pattern is not going to fit. You might follow every single instruction and sew it perfectly with the required 5/8 inch seam allowance, but that project will not work. So that's fiber art. Now we come to environmental art. Thinking about a garden, you might consider what is the substance that you are going to plant. Will it be flowers? Will it be perennials or annuals? Will it be shrubbery? Will it be a vegetable garden? How much soil do you have? And speaking of soil, is it the right kind of soil for the crop that you plan to cultivate? What else? Could be the height of the plants. If you're thinking about a flower garden, they often will give you at the garden center or seed packets, what is the optimal size of this plant were it to grow in ideal conditions with a good amount, the right amount of sun, water, the right kind of soil. All right, and color. Do the colors work together? Do you have pink flowers next to red flowers? Which for some people, that would make them crazy. Hey friend, we're gonna pause just for a second and have a look at this incredible view. Isn't that beautiful? I'm so glad that you're along for this hike today with me. The weather is in the low 60s. Clouds finally cleared up a little bit. So it is absolutely the perfect day for sister creatives to get out on the trail. I'm gonna go to the other side of this rock outcropping and show you a different view, a favorite view of mine that one of my friends who is an artist did a lovely painting of, and she credited me with the inspiration as she had painted it based on a photo that I posted. She asked permission if she could do it, and of course I said yes. All right, that's another view that I absolutely love. Okay, so we talked about size in a garden, color, things about height, crops, where you're going to plant this garden, how much space do you have. Those are other ways that you can assess how good it is. If you're doing interior design, color is important. Style is another factor. And a third factor would probably be, what is the space used for? Is it a kitchen? Is it a open floor plan with a kitchen that flows into a living space? Is it a bedroom? Is it in the city with limited floor space? Is it in a loft that also has limited floor space? Is it a bunk room in a ski lodge in Vermont or Utah? You get the idea. But think about those three ways that you can assess what you're working on. So that would be environmental. Performing, we have the venue. Where are we performing? Is it going to be recorded? Is it going to be live? Is it going to have a huge space with lots of people in attendance? Or is it going to be more intimate? Perhaps it's at a cafe in the morning where people come and go, and you are sitting in the corner playing your guitar, singing. You are performing. And let me just say, you are a rock star. So we can think about the venue, the genre. Is it music? If it's music, is it folk, classical, jazz, impromptu, new age, rock, R&B, hip hop? Is it a flash mob where you and others have practiced for hours or weeks and you have coordinated that you're going to surprise people in a subway, in a city square with your performance? So fun. Videos I've seen of that. And next, sister, we come to Bickley Industrial. Again, what is your medium? Is it clay? Is it wood? Is it wire? How large is the creation? The size definitely determines how we can determine whether it is good. A piece of jewelry, I'm thinking, how do you compare that to a marble statue? that has to withstand the elements outside, size, material. And I think the use of it. Is it jewelry? Is it something that will be worn every day? I'm thinking of the ring that I had made and how it incorporates different birthstones, but I told the jeweler that I plan to wear this every single day, and I work with my hands. Mostly at the time I was sewing 8 or 10 hours a day, and I needed to make sure that if I wrapped that ring on the side of my sewing table, that it would not pop out a stone. And let me tell you, that setting has served me quite well. Okay, so I think that's 3 different categories. So that would be industrial, and then culinary. Culinary, so fun. How can we assess what is good for the culinary arts? We can talk about what meal is it designed for? Are we making breakfast? Are we making pastries? Are we making lunch? Appetizers? Dinner? A 12-course menu? Is it vegetarian? Are we focusing on seafood? That's a second category. And then, who is going to be eating it and where? Is it something we will serve buffet style at an open house? Is it something that we plan to serve from a pop-up trailer where maybe we can begin a business as a food truck? Sister, I know that you are not probably planning to begin a business based on your creativity, which I think, depending on the stage of life that you are at, that may or may not be true. There are plenty of creative women over 50 who have launched very successful careers. But we started this talk, this conversation, thinking about how do we know if it's good? So I've given you 3 different ways to categorize for the 7 different art forms. That's 21 in all. I will include a link to a PDF if you want to have the kind of checklist so that you can determine for your own creative projects. And of course, you can make your own checklist too. Do you know if your art is good? Doesn't matter. Maybe that'll be a conversation for another day, because I feel process definitely is more important than product. Do you agree? Thanks for coming out on this walk and talk today. Thanks for having a conversation with me. I look forward to the next one. And don't forget, subscribe, because this video is sponsored by me. Nobody else, just me. And you can support this channel by sharing, by commenting. I read and comment on every single comment that you take the time to write, by subscribing and by sharing with other sister creatives. All right, until next time.